Warm good evening to all of you, and welcome to this our regular Jnanavadini session. And it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, our own senior member of our FDPPI, Mr. Kamal Acharya, who is an experienced senior person with 20 years of experience in driving commercial and team performance, and adept in all facets of operational management and well versed in supporting organizational objectives. He is well versed in influencing others through engaging training, mentoring, and being an advocate for best practices. Having worked in supporting victims of serious crimes to managing as head of public relationships with police force in UK. His profile, as you know, it's very big. I'm just picking up some of the important which would help you and me to understand him more. He's also a trained counselor, Microsoft professional, EU GDPR professional, and data protection officer. Kamal speaks English, Hindi, Gujarati, and Swahili language. Mr. Kamal is also a radio presenter and involved in various local charities as a trustee and a member of assisting the communities who seek assistance and guidance in general or specific need as and when arises. Mr. Kamal has been awarded the High Sheriff's Her Majesty, the Queen's Representative Award in recognition for the services given to the community. Now, he is practicing as an independent EU GDPR practitioner with clients in UK and in India. He is also a registered data protection officer for Digitech Confidential. I personally feel and believe that he would be the right candidate to talk about the experiences of GDPR, and on our personal request, he has allocated time and ready to share his knowledge. I really appreciate his efforts, time on behalf of all of us. Thank you very much once again. And Mr. Kamal Acharya, floor is yours. Yeah.
Good evening, and thank you very much. Good evening, one and all. Just want to clarify, is the audio on clear? As I don't have a video, so apologies for that.
That is fine.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, want to just thank FDPPI, as I've been following FDPPI for quite a long time, and especially when I connected with Mr. Navi, where he was one of the speakers at a conference discussion in the European Union. And it was then I felt this is the organization I want to be connected with, and hence I'm here. So today, I'm not going to teach anybody any laws or anything like that, and first of all, thank you for giving such a long introduction. I just try to simplify myself as best as possible. Various colleagues here are extremely well-versed within the law and GDPR issues, so I'm not going to teach anything to anyone. It's just sharing something that we have always found interesting as to what is going on. We appreciate that in every country, in every part of the world, there are new sets of laws, circumstances, or issues come up with, where to assist the individual as well as the organization. So that is the what I started to look at it. When I had a little discussion with Mr. Ramesh as to what exactly should I come up with, I had a few ideas, but looking at some of the in-depth things that we sometimes don't have, everybody doesn't have time, we just glance through. So I thought it might be interesting to look at what is going on in general within the EU and the UK. Of course, the UK, since the Brexit is now calling itself UK GDPR. I'm looking at the timeline, as to what has been happening. And I acknowledge all the organizations who have parted with the information, including FDPPI. So where are we now? If we look at the timeline slide, so in 2018, there was the implementation of EU GDPR. In fact, it started all in 2016 when it was started, the discussion of various countries, when it was those who were members of the EUR, the implementation, and in 2018, in May, it came into force. And then the enforcement tracking didn't start until July 2018. So this is where all the data is captured as to who has been fined, what has been going on, and which countries are really playing their part. In 2019, the number of fines imposed started to raise awareness worldwide, and various countries started to think about it as to how they are going to play about in the benchmarking the data protection or privacy for their individuals within their own country, within their own rights and their own ways. Hence, as I mentioned to you before, in 2020, Brexit occurred on 31st January 2020 at 2300 hours. Of course, it's first that everybody rejoiced here. But the rejoicement of that, if we look at it, what I found is the impact, the Brexit impact, particularly international transfer of personal data from UK to other countries started playing out. There were so many issues. I'm just talking in general, nothing political or religious, please. So in basically the impact of Brexit is being felt even now deeper because there are lots of things which are happening, and there is an outcry about how the delays are occurring. Information, visas, just general things. If I want to go to Spain, I have to now declare that I have £100 a day to spend and show it in proof, either in cash. If I have a credit card, then they will check how much credit worthiness is there, which is ridiculous. And these things were never used to happen. I'm just giving an example. So you can see how the changes of Brexit has impacted. Our passports have to be minimum of 12 months now. It used to be 6 months. It is still 6 months in many countries that to be validated. We never used to have visa issues. You just walk in and walk out even with a driving license, but that was before Brexit, no more. So those kind of things a little bit, Moving on, and since 2018 to 2022, the ICO, Information Commission Office, have come up with a Vision 25. That is complete review of how ICO will work forward to empower people even more with their personal data. And it should be ready for year 2025. Consultation has started, which is a brilliant thing. And of course, in due course, if there is any, the consultation paper, if there is a vision or something we can all learn, I'll be happy to share it. And then what happened is that the recorded number of fines, if we look at it, so in 2018, there were only 24 which were recorded between May and December in actual recorded. I went back even further back, and I was looking at something like 2004. There was one fine recorded for 10,000 euros. So you can see the changes now. And then since from January to December 2019, it went up to 827. Likewise, in 2020, as you can see the jump, it's more than threefold, 3,971 from January to December 2020. If you look at in 2021, there were 8,792. And of course, from January to date until yesterday, this is just as best data collected, 8,879. And we are in mid-August now. So these are the impact that happened. When I was looking at what has happened, like since January this year, 2022, in January there were 35, February 39 fines. So slowly everybody started to do. This is, I'm just talking monthly figures. But in here, as you can see, from 2018, when nobody knew, of course, other countries did have some kind of privacy laws, the Data Protection Act 2018 and before here. So from 24 to 8,879. So just to talk about the next slide. This is just a very rather long title, and that's why I've written it there. It's a bill to regulate for 2025 vision. It is going through the parliament. It's gone through the first stage on 9th or 19th of July, and it's at second stage of hearing in House of Commons. So things are moving to how the public are delivering, public services are making a delivery, and what agreement of sharing agreements for the information for law enforcement purposes. Previously, there used to be like a European, just as an example, European arrest warrant, which can be issued in any EU country. Now, it's more difficult for the UK enforcement services to enforce that, because they have to seek permission. They have to go there, here, there, everywhere. Also, to make a provision about keeping maintenance of registers of birth and deaths. Now, some of us might think, well, what's wrong in that? That has to be corrected. But there are also the best administrators that they are, or they might be, even can make mistakes. So that is where one of the things can come up with. And also the biometric data, to see where everything is connected. In UK now, if I file my, just for example, any tax purposes, the Inland Revenue will know everything where I've paid. It's linked to the banks, it links to my accounts, it links everywhere. My national insurance number is everywhere. So that is how there were concerns raised about individuality, how people were being given letters or asked to cough up with taxes and everything else, which is fair. Let's see what happens then. So then came a question about highest fines by country. So I looked at which was the countries that the enforcement tracker has logged to date. So the highest country, if we look at, is Luxembourg. France, Ireland, Italy, Spain. On the right hand side, on the right hand side. These are the figures, how many fines were given. If you look at it, United Kingdom is somewhere at 10 fines. But at the same time, this is not cheap. If you look at it, it is in millions, and that's how it went further. So, it's trying to move from one. So let's look at the, then I started to look at what kind of violation is there. And the top one, if we look at it, the top one is insufficient legal basis for data processing. 420 cases, and 420 cases. And in short, there has to be legal way why they are processing the data. The second highest was non-compliance with general data processing principles since 2018. The third one highest was technical and organization measures to ensure information security. Now, this is quite important also when they are doing the servers, preparing everything, looking after the servers, the security of it, and how much training has been given. And then it comes to fulfillment of data subject rights. Many organizations still today, even now, they are failing to fulfill their data subject rights. When they don't contact them in time, they either send them the wrong form, and again, then they will say, okay, can we have another form? So it's a time wasting. When within 30 days, the matter should be resolved, either acknowledged, resolved, or the person being contacted and explained with explanation. Insufficient fulfillment of information obligation, not giving information in correct manner, failing to oblige that if anybody is asking who is the organization, whom can I contact, it's just taking them around the circles, and all that is another thing which has come up. And the fulfillment of data breach notification, many organizations still fail today to give. And if you look at it, there were 25 since, and the number of fines, insufficient involvement of data protection officer. It's nice to have a data protection officer, but if he or she is not engaged with the board members or with the organization, what is the point in having a data protection officer for the namesake? So he or she should be the top priority in any management things to do with the security of the organization. When we are talking about like IT, should be engaging with the DPO, or any future plans or expansion of the organization should be connected with the DPO, because he or she will guide them as to where and how they can engage, and also as well as putting together the package which will also comply within the data protection rules. So that's important. The other one was about data processing agreements. Many organizations fail. I mean, there were not too many, but still people don't understand the data processing agreements. They are quite complex in various organizations. There are companies who work within worldwide and also within the country here. So they have data processing agreements, but they don't know how they are sharing. They just think it's okay because we have always shared the data. So something to think about. Somewhere unknown why they were done. And again, sorry, there is a repetition, but there is a fulfillment of data subject rights. Okay. Then we looked at which sectors particularly had the highest fines. We can talk about the various industries. So we've just taken in overall. So industry and commerce, and they were the top number one. The second one, which I was surprised, I thought this was going to be the number one, because the number of harassment calls and text messages and messages offering you free loans and all that is by telecoms. But industry and commerce, media, telecoms, and broadcasting. So these are the number of fines they got, 194. Public sector and education, not a surprise at all, because there's still people are failing to organizations, schools, private schools have got these Facebook accounts and Twitter accounts. So they need to comply in various different ways. The other big one, finance, insurance, and consulting. Yeah, even the consultancy, people think, oh, we're just we'll just step aside and say this is what the organizations. No, anyone can we are running a consultation. That can be fined. they can be also be held liable. Healthcare is another very concerning. So this is where the new the ICO has said that they're going to come up with even more stringent cases, stringent rules, and how they are going to assist individuals so that their information should not be just shared. Individuals and private associations. Individuals, what are we talking about? Individuals. These are the private organizations. That as an individual, if I'm talking on behalf of an organization as an individual, but without the permission, without the knowledge, without the guidance, and without any facts, that could be also a charge, saying that I might have breached by talking about XYZ. Within the employment sector also, there is always an issue, particularly these cases where to do with the employment agencies, and that's where I found, and also some of the organizations where employment, it was connected to giving information wrongly or by mistake, pinging a mail. So hence the reason, CC and BCC blank copies and carbon copy is very dangerous thing to do unless you are definitely sure. Transportation and energy. Within the transport field, the energy sector, some of them were not assigned, at all, because they were generic. Accommodation and hospitality, hotels. There were also hotels is the place where most information can easily be taken off, and also I always worry whenever we think we are giving this information in the best faith and everything, but now things have gotten so, instead of getting even higher numbers, so they've got very small. Real estates, that's another place where people found it quite difficult into the scene, and to look at it. Real estates where information is shared because of the potential buyer, not buyer, or as an estate, as in business matters also. So if we look at it, then I looked at all the total sum of fines. If we look at the top 10, so since October 2020 and until July 2021 or September, these are by no means, but I'm just I'll put it as the highest fines here. Industry and commerce, media. It was the country was, WhatsApp was fined, because they failed to give insufficient fulfillment of information of obligation to users. If I reinstall my WhatsApp, I have to agree to the UK, they have the EU and everything else if I want to use, because they are based now in Ireland. Google, likewise, they were fined, you're all aware of it. Facebook, because they were using insufficient legal basis for data processing. They are still doing even now. There are pending cases, which I haven't put in here. The number of pending cases is just unthinkable. Not just for Google, but for various other organizations, particularly for universities, which is something has cropped up recently. And then online shopping for employment, giving insufficient processing their data, telecommunications in Italy, transportation and energy, again, that was in Italy. And again, in transportation and energy, that was in British Airways, were fined quite big. So this is just an overview of what has been going on. So when I look at the chronological issues, about the stats about the countries, how they had been done, the highest fines by the country, and type of violation. And so this is like when you are processing in any of the DPOs here, or any auditors, they can start thinking about, we can all start thinking about what else are they involved in, what else their organization is involved in, how is it the best way that we can assist and the organization, how you can assist, what are the things based on, who else is there when you are doing the audit, have they already got correct way of explaining to the staff in the IT, who from head of IT right to the person who is backing up the data every day. What is the, they got a flow chart of how they are doing, what they are doing, what is the next stage. If they are going to for a destruction, how is it processed? How is the confidential waste being destroyed? Have they got a locked up room where they, or if there's someone said, oh, we just burn it. I said, okay, so who is the person who signs out all this confidential? Those are kind of things. So from now, from instead of burning, now incineration, they have called a company who gives them certification of recycling everything once it's done, and that certificate is then submitted with the audit purposes. And that is where how they have changed their things. So what's happening now? What is the ICO, Information Commission Office, doing now under the UK GDPR? This is interesting, because that never used to happen. It was just a hearsay. Okay, they are charity. They are their work regarding charity fundraising practices. In UK, is hundreds and hundreds of charity organizations are there, literally hundreds. And how are they are, because people come and knock on the door. There are street fundraisers who stand on the street with a big lanyard and a big photograph, but you can't read anything most of the time. And I do challenge many of them, because they will just say, oh, I'm from, say, for example, there's a huge organization, Barnados or Red Cross or any other. And people just think, oh, yes, we know, we've heard about Red Cross. Some come up, oh, we are just set our football funding for football for younger kids with learning difficulties. Now, those kind of, that is when the eyes start opening and say, hold on a second, where is your registration number? Have you got the authority from the local council or the local whatever is in your area that you're allowed to do fundraising? Data security incidents, nuisance messages and cookies. Nuisance messages, at least everybody, I'm pretty sure, do receive various offers and everything, even from the companies. Then also they are looking at even deeper now into the cyber issues. There's a lot of fraud going on various countries. It's everywhere. But here people are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, the fraudsters. Hopefully the Action Fraud organization here in UK, which tries to collect all the data and also assist victims of crime. Hence, I feel that at least there's somebody there where they can register. Not that they can do, they can't do, but they normally refer once somebody has reported that they've been scammed or anything. They report it. They will get a reference number, and then they will collect that data and send it to the relevant police force to investigate. People have been scammed with thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. But at the same time, from this, intelligence is also built up as to what kind of scams are going on. And it's been revealed mostly on their website from time to time. And the police forces locally will go out and send out, if one is registered with them, will send out text messages to be alert as to local neighborhood. To look at the data security incident trends, what's going on, nuisance calls and messages trends, as I mentioned, and the ICOs work to recover fines. Various organizations, they are fined, but they don't. They just say or they haven't paid or whatever. So they are working on that, how to recover. Of course, many of them have been taken to court now, and a threat to maybe to go to prison also could be there. Looking at, I don't know further details about that, but it is already there. Investigation into data analytics for political purposes. It's a little bit of a hot subject at the moment between two people. And so as to, they were going to, just to give you an example on the softer side of the things, if we look at it, one of the political parties were going to send out reforms for people to choose the next prime minister of the United Kingdom. And then they said, okay, we will also give them an option to do, if they have a second thought, they can go online and do that. But that's been withdrawn because there is a little danger that maybe the scammers might get in and vote for somebody else. Anyway, also investigating into data protection compliance in the direct marketing and brokering. So where people are selling the data in a bigger way, people are still using those data even today. They are also finally going to look at the time of responses to information access by requests by police forces. Police forces are also under compliance. They have to respond back within certain time. That is where the customer relations, public relations, everything comes in. They do have, obviously all police forces are under data protection law, UK GDPR, but they have already put out the things and they've got the DPOs and everything enforced. But some of them, they fail even to give any acknowledgement or a response. So hence, that's what the reason is. Thank you, colleagues, for your time, and I want to thank Mr. Navi and Mr. Ramesh and Ms. Manju, for agreeing to give me your time here today. It's just something that will be thought-provoking and start to see what can be done, how are you going to, how we can all approach, and that's where it is. I will leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Kamal, I wanted a couple of information. Now, this ICO, how is it staffed? How many people are there? How big is the organization? And same thing, other supervisory authorities in other countries, how big is each of those teams?
Okay, ICO has got various staffing. There was recently 2020, the 2022 conference for the data protection practitioners, and the DPOs, the DPOs and the authorities had, I think, more than 25 members of staff, each covering different sectors. There are more than over 100 people working there, and they're going to increase that even more.
Okay.
As best I can remember, sir.
No, that's okay. Generally, I just wanted to know. And how are these DPOs in various countries appointed? Say in India, we discuss about the selection committee, etc. Now, there, I understand most of supervisory authorities are individuals. Okay. And if they are individuals, so not a committee like we have in India, 6 or 7 people here. How are they appointed? What are their credentials?
Okay, that's a very good question, sir. I mean, the DPOs here are appointed. There is a thought process of exactly that, how much knowledge, first of all, they have about IT issues, what is their background. It doesn't have to be that a legal expert also. Previously, there was an issue that came up. Is it only a lawyer that can be a DPO? No, not really. The company secretary can be a DPO. And even I know one organization who have asked a deputy head of IT but then was quickly changed their position as to he had to resign from his IT job because of, so he was given another title anyway. So he doesn't deal with any IT issues because there could be a compromise. That is one thing.
No,
So
I was also asking about the supervisory authorities.
Yeah.
ICO kind of a person. What
I-
are their credentials?
Yeah, ICO's credentials are very clear. If one cannot, any organizations doesn't compulsory need to be a data protection. Are there more than 200 people working there, first of all? The second thing was about how they've given a job specification, a guidance, not per se in writing, but they are saying that the person should be experienced, to be knowledgeable about data, the security of the data, as well as the governance of the organization.
Okay. You know, in India, big hue and cry was made because the selection committee doesn't have Chief Justice of India, something like that. So I was just wondering what are the things done there. Then in the beginning, in UK, the DPOs were to be registered with the ICO. Is that system continuing?
Still, every year I have to fill out a form and make sure that I give all my credentials and my details to them. In fact, I get now. Previously I never used to get. I think they've got their things even proper now. That they will send out a form via email. So once you are paid, they will tell you exactly what how much you have paid. Everything is registered, and it will be like an ongoing thing.
Okay, but no test or anything was conducted.
No.
Also, Navi sir, the assessment happens through a link on your organization where they classify us as tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Based on that, the DPO registration fees needs to be paid
Correct.
yearly.
Correct. I agree with you totally. So some organizations have to pay quite a high fee.
That is based on the organization's status, big, small, or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are
Okay.
parameters.
Now I'm talking of the professional credentials of the DPO. Is there any test or anything conducted or any interview done?
Not by ICO, no. But this year they are already looking at how the certification process should be done for DPOs.
Yeah.
There is already something in place. I see. I can understand now where your question lies to. So there isn't such thing from the ICO right now, but it's already within the new next 3 years. But I think earlier next year, all the DPOs will have, those who are registered, they will have to have certain criteria.
Okay.
They already have anyway.
Also, there is no data auditor as we are expecting in India, where also credentials and registration will be required, at least in India. There, of course, there is no data auditor concept, is it not? I'm talking of accredited data auditors who can do a data audit. That kind of system is not there under GDPR and even ICO, I suppose.
Yeah, there is like the auditors are. I think this is where various sections. I think Mr. Ramesh can back me up or not, but yeah, or other colleagues also, that they talk about the ISO and so various other various number of ISOs come into play, and the GDPR, they all link it together. It's about performance related, how.
Okay. I understand. ISO leads the way. Yeah, Suvarna has got something to
It
say.
used to lead the way, but now since GDPR has come in, so the things have obviously a little bit of everybody's trying hierarchy of it,
Okay.
Navi sir, are you looking at Singapore, right? Personal Data Protection Commission, wherein they recommend the courses and the certification programs for the various roles with respect to the Singapore law.
Yeah.
right?
I
As
think
far
it's
as,
required. In my opinion,
yes,
it's
yes.
required.
As far as my understanding goes, whatever that the blogs and sites we have looked at it, ICO does not have any kind of programs at this
Yeah.
stage.
Only that
Very,
registration form, they will
yes,
ask what is
yes,
your
yes,
experience, etc., etc.
yes, yes. Only thing is, as we know, a particular article talks about the qualifications recommended by ICO, full stop. That's all. So it's left to the organization to really deem necessary, and then they put that person, and then that person is getting registered. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Suvarna has got some question.
Yeah, thank you, Navi sir. How are you doing?
Fine, fine. Yeah.
All right. Hi, good afternoon, Kamal.
Hi.
Thanks for taking up and giving us an insight. But just a quick one. You just mentioned that, of course, for a DP, for selecting a DPO, you don't have to be, well-versed from the legal background. The relevant information and relevant knowledge is more than enough, and have a qualified, a background to become a DPO. But you also mentioned that getting registered as a DPO and getting registered with ICO,
Yeah.
you need to have a minimum employee strength of 200, right?
I
Is
think
it-
when we look at some of the questions, like the DPO, the ICO is saying, do I need a data protection officer, for example?
yeah,
And then first of all, they will ask, are you a public authority, yes or no? Right?
correct.
If you say no, and then at the same time, if you are not a public authority, does your organization's core activity require regular or systematic monitoring of individuals on large scale?
Mm-hmm.
For example, tracking and monitoring individuals'
Right.
behavior, such as on the internet or on CCTV, etc.
Mhm.
Similarly, like that. So if you, so those kind of, there are like about 5, 6 questions or 10 questions, that they will ask. They will
Mhm.
guide you that if the categories you are monitoring, core activities, is it for special categories of personal or criminal convictions or offenses data? So these are the things, they start looking at, like special categories could mean anything, personal data
Mhm.
revealing their racial or ethnic origin or personal opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs. Are you a member of trade union? Various other things,
Mhm.
Also collecting health data, person's private way of life and living.
Yeah, Kamal,
Yeah.
on a broad, say, percentage basis, how many companies have used the external DPO versus own DPO? Any idea? Some statistics?
Uh, I haven't got it offhand, but many. So there's two parts to it. So larger organizations have got their own DPOs.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smaller organizations, what has happened is they could be sharing a DPO, an independent DPO.
Yeah.
Okay. So by consulting, paying them a fee to come once every 6 months or 12 months as agreed, or as and when required. But because there will be somebody within the organization who will be aiming to assist more, and they might have a better link to see that if I train this person up in future, then he or she can take up the role.
Mhm.
So there
But
isn't.
then every organization should have an DPO who are being a part of
No.
operating UK, right, Kamal?
Yeah.
Directly or indirectly?
Directly or
Whichever,
indirectly.
if they are large, so something equivalent to significant data fiduciaries, or if they are government agencies.
So
Yeah.
actually, DPO is mandatory only in 3 cases as part of the GDPR. Either a public authority
Correct.
or a large scale regular monitoring, as Kamal explained, or if the organization is handling large scale special data categories. That's it. Otherwise, you don't need to have a DPO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Arifan has got some question.
Not a question, Navi sir. Actually, something to add. What Kamal just said to it. I have seen a practice within definitely my organization and some similar organization, that this IAPP have got quite a lot of upper hand while selecting a DPO. So for example, if you are looking at a Europe-based organization, they normally recommend or look for people who got qualification like CIPPE, stuffs like that. So they captured quite a lot of market and created a little bit of a reputation, you might say, or a mindset of organization. They always prefer to go with those sort of people who are already certified by an IAPP, some sort of certification, especially either CIPPE or CIPP US or CIPPA, stuffs like that.
Yeah.
That's a normal culture I have seen within my organization and some of them. And when I was going through the training with IAPP for the CIPPE, the trainer during the training said that she is part-time DPO of 13 different organizations. So then I have come to know that a smaller organization, as Kamal said correctly, hire part-time DPO. Maybe they don't need it for all the time. But yes, this is I have come across. Just wanted to share.
Yeah, the conflict also has to be managed. If
That's
I am a
true.
DPO for two competitors.
And I'll tell you, sir, in my selection, for my selection, I have gone through a cybersecurity certification from DIIT Pune. They started this online for last 3 years, and they certify you if you pass the exam with information assurance professional, and you get certification on DIIT. So CIPP and DIIT certification played a vital role in my selection.
That is fine. I'm talking about these 13 part-time DPO assignment. There,
Yeah.
if multiple these things are competitors, then conflict will have to be managed. See, when I was working in the advertising area, we had a very strict this thing that the agency will not accept business from more than one type of one organization in a particular industry type. Okay.
But this might be the future in India as well. The MSME might go for part-time
No, I'm
DPOs
saying
if the law comes.
that is fine. It is okay. What I'm saying is, suppose I have got a bank. Can I be a DPO for say ABC Cooperative Bank and the XYZ Cooperative Bank also? Because both of them are in the same this thing, something like that. If the business profile of the clients are similar, the DPO, because he's one who will be having a very intimate relationship with the internal happenings, will it be not conflicting relationship in such a scenario is what I'm just trying to think. Should there be a norm like that? So today there is no such norm. GDPR is not specified. Okay, I feel that we should put up a norm saying that while it is feasible for a firm of to act as DPO for multiple organizations, there has to be some ethics in accepting the business. I cannot accept one insurance company and his competitor insurance company also. That is the kind of thought process I am just trying to pursue.
Navi sir.
Yeah.
See, if you take up an Indian example, a chartered accountant firm, firm taking the assignments from the same more than two companies from the same industry. For example, take industry insurance. A firm having the insurance company A also, a B also as their client. So DPO role also is just like a CA role.
No, I'm saying that there should be some norm set up whereby now if like ICO, we say DPOs are to be registered with the regulatory authority. Okay.
That's okay.
Then
but
at the time of registration, the Data Protection Authority must question whether there are conflicting relationships in the client base. That is
right.
It will be restricting the business of this shared DPO, but in the long run, I think that is essential.
I don't think that will be the case because
But Navi sir, in that case, if one doctor gives the services to 10 competitor hospital in the same area,
Professionalism, sir.
so it is a profession.
I gave you one industry, which is the advertising industry, where this is strictly followed. Okay, if that industry can follow, others also should think.
Sir, advertising industry.
Going to have
in fact, companies
an
are
NDA.
looking at more and more experienced DPOs because they have come across, what type of challenges are there, how that can be handled.
This kind of thing will also prevent some cartelization and monopolization of DPO business. Otherwise, your big four is sufficient for the entire India because each of them will have 100 clients. Now, by introducing a norm like this, we are actually giving more opportunities to more professionals. Am I correct?
That's not going to happen, sir.
I'm saying, should it happen? Okay, whether it will happen or not is different. Should we desire that an ethical standard has to be there of that type? Because otherwise, we are signing an NDA, but how far an NDA can take? If I am a data protection officer for, let us say, State Bank of India, and I'm also a data protection officer for, let us say, ICICI Bank, maybe they are big enough, they don't require shared services, but I'm just giving an example. I know the clients of this company. I know the clients of that company. I know the contracts, data processing contracts used by A company and B company. How much is my NDA going to help? Because I'm supposed to be an advisor to each of these companies. So I have to actually share certain knowledge. And therefore, there is a very high level of conflict if shared services are allowed without any restriction is a thought.
Sir, Navi sir, I have one question to you. Now you are independent director of companies.
Yes.
Right, sir. Okay. In case of independent directors, is it being followed that one independent director like you cannot be on board of on the two same category companies? For example, you are a board member of a small cooperative bank. Is it going to prevent you that
at present it is not there? At present it is not there, except that total number of directorships should not exceed something like that. Okay.
That is always there, but not the same industry not prevented, sir.
Okay.
The directorship also.
See, I'm talking of professional ethics. Should the group of professionals, DPO professionals, should put a self-regulation on this aspect?
First, all the directors put their regulation, sir. All the independent directors follow the profession because the director is an apex individual in an organization.
Fine,
so
fine. I take your point. I'm just putting a thought for others to think, because this is something which is bugging me in terms of shared this thing. Okay, then we'll go for.
Yeah, I think Navi sir, I think what you mentioned is some kind of conflict of interest clause should be there. Yes.
Yeah.
But sir, one comment on this topic. I think what the JPC suggested for India, if that remains the same, like the DPO has to be a key managerial position.
Correct.
And I don't think this part-time DPO culture will be in India. I mean, they can hire agencies.
At present, JPC recommendation is that he should be an employee or something like a full-time director. So the possibility of too much of sharing will not arise. Okay, but SMEs now will be thinking about this. Whether
I mean, they can make someone DPO and maybe outsource the actual work with different organizations. I have seen organizations are, offering privacy services with minimal fees that is already there in the market. So I think that might be going forward. If the JP's recommendation remain the same for India, this key managerial position.
Now there no recommendation of JPC on the board.
No, correct. But I'm trying to draft some suggested act. No, so that's why I'm thinking of.
My request to you is
Navi sir,
start with the directorship, sir. All the independent directors.
Sir, maybe you should include something about conflict of interest in that case.
Yeah.
Navi sir.
Yeah.
As we had seen, as we had gone through, let's say almost 8 of 10 laws, privacy laws, correct?
Yeah.
Talks about part-time.
Correct.
They are not talking about full-time at all. Yeah. No. I think I'm with you. I'm trying to say India also, okay, probably will fall in that direction is what I'm trying to say. obviously, as you are saying, recommending that there will be a code of that is already existing for any profession today. For example, as an
Yeah.
external auditor, no, Adupu sir, I'm looking at even our management system audits, right?
Yes, yes.
Now I do Wipro previous day, next day I'm going to Cognizant, the third day I'm going to what you call Capgemini. Obviously, they are all competitors to each one of them. How are they allowing me?
But,
So there
Ramesh, you
is
have a contract in place, right? If you
no,
disclose
no,
any
1 minute, 1
information,
minute,
you
1
have
minute,
to
1 minute, 1 minute. I'm assuming that there is a contract will be in place. Any DPO, obviously, do you think that there won't be any contract in place? Who will take you and me without contract? The example what he quoted, 13 places. Obviously, there will be a NDA signed, code of ethics signed by each organization. And in my opinion, believe me, if you go a little bit further, each organization would be knowing that where 12 organization he or she is employed with. I don't think this is something a unique concept which is coming out only for privacy.
Now that you will have to see whether the contract will require disclosure of your.
Sir, take my. That's why I said with the limited knowledge of mine, because this organized privacy is so important that this clause would be already existing. That I need to, explicitly explain that organization that I am on board with other 12 organizations, and probably I need to get no objection certificate from others guys also. Otherwise, I will not be on board. I'm sure these kind of practices would be emerged.
These are the things which we have to think is what.
Yes.
You said now, first of all, it is disclosure. Second, you said no objection certificate.
No. What I am trying to say.
Issues.
Superb. What I am trying to say is that the kind of profession we are in, the kind of data what people are going to handle, I may not be surprised if these kind of ethics are going to fall in place. Obviously, it needs to be there, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm saying, should it be part of the law in some form, suggestion
better
in form?
Otherwise, nobody will follow, no, sir.
So like we have a due diligence, for example, in Information Technology Act, we have due diligence and there is a notification which explains what is due diligence.
Absolutely.
Likewise, here also DPO registration and what is the general expectation of how conflicts are managed, etc. could be a part of the regulation itself. Yeah, Kamal, you wanted to say something.
It's just to add the interesting point you are making, sir. One of the things is that some organization, they could be just about large enough. They aren't required to appoint a DPO under the rule, but they will do it voluntarily, you see. And when they do it voluntarily, they have to understand that there is the same duties and responsibility will apply as a DPO.
Right.
And they will support, the board members will support the DPO. Now, this DPO could be somebody who has been asked to come and assist them from time to time as required. So, as I said, is he or she is not a permanent member there, but they are voluntarily. The organization has voluntarily appointed them. That is how probably at the moment it works. Because if I'm voluntarily appointed. I'm already doing it for Digital Confidential, so I can be asked by another organization, can I do that? So, like you said, there is like all the NDAs are signed and everything else is just like similarly going to do what is So that's where it is.
Yeah, and I think somebody asked a question about the whether the people who have been fined, have they really paid the fine or is it under some litigation? Any thought?
Yeah, sir, this is my question. Rajesh here. I wanted to understand because we are hearing last 2-3 years, all these big fines, numbers and all.
Yes.
But actually, do we have any evidence that this all fine is really paid by the organization?
See, some of the fines which have come up recently, they are actually 3-year-old case, 4-year-old case. Many of them pre-2018 complaints are getting resolved through these courts and other things. Like SHEMS actually was a pre-2018 judgment. So I think there is a time lag between the occurrence of the breach. And also one more thing I wanted to ask Mr. Kamal, how many of these cases actually come out of data breaches, and how many from, say, some other, say, observations? Kamal, data breach versus the number of cases, 8,000 cases, how many of them represent data breaches, notified data breach?
If we look at there are some which doesn't exactly say it was because of data breach, but I think just bear with me for a moment. So there was something there.
Yeah, for example, Amazon itself was not a data breach.
No, no.
Google, most of the Google, these things are not data breach.
If we look at here, most of them, it was to do with media, telecoms, employment, and that is where also there was a data breach, you see. And also British Airways was a data breach because of they failed in the technical and organization measure, you know. So information, industry and commerce, they haven't broken down in particular. I can always find those
in general, how many of these 8,000 and odd cases have arisen out of reported data breaches? And many of them, like Google and other things, it is an odd complaint from somebody that the privacy policy is not okay or something like that. And when there is an investigation, during the investigation, they find out something or the other.
It takes amount of thousands, yes. Yeah, that is how it because if they receive one complaint, one is one too many probably for an investigating organization like ICO, you know. So they will go deeper and dig deeper until they find out what else happened last year and year before and year before. So probably, like you said, you know, that is how the information is gathered. I don't have the correct information.
Sir, I'm just looking at that site. Okay, just to answer you, I'll share my screen for benefit of everybody, so that this is what we shared in our training also. 1 minute.
Stop my share, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah, I'm just sharing my screen. Navi sir, if you see here, this guy is talking about 1 minute. You're able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just sharing here. If you see here, fine statistics. Okay, I've gone to that enforcementtracker.com. This guy is talking about highest fine by the country by type of violation. That's what you are asking, right?
Okay, no, that is there, but I'm talking of reported data breaches.
Coming. Now, if you look at it, there is nothing called breaches. Okay. Now, what they had put, maybe, I don't know, unknown category is what they're talking about. Otherwise, once when that reported on performing, let's say, detailed analysis, they are coming to a conclusion that it because of the insufficient legal basis, non-compliance with the GDPR principles and so on. Now, straight away, there is no category we have a pie which talks about breaches.
Yeah.
Right. At least I probably we might have to link this unknown probably.
For example, that Airbus
yes,
I think was a reported data breach, and that hotel one is big. This thing is there. No,
Marriott
hotel was a data breach report kind of.
Yes. Adupu, you are saying something, Adupu sir?
Yeah. See.
Yes, sir.
A data breach does not definitely be a violation of the individual rights for the privacy.
Correct.
Data breach is a different subject and a different angle to be looked at that. So whether there is any angle of privacy breach, that will come under this way.
Absolutely.
Accommodation, employment, they are all fall in there. So there's no category industry can be classified as data breach.
Correct.
That's my understanding.
I think I am with you, Adupu sir. Navi sir, now let's say a violation happens. That is nothing but a breach. On that breach, they do a detail.
But
analysis.
That's technically a breach. Fine, I agree. Contravention. Okay, contravention. But compared to that, where there is, for example, in HIPAA, most of these things were actually breaches of some 1 million data breach, 2 million data breach kind of thing. Actually, it went into the dark web and then it got something like that. Now, I'm trying to say how many of these cases fall into that category of real compromise, like our own cognizant to this thing. Data is out in the ransomware out of this thing. That is a more serious data breach. If you want to categorize data breach itself, now not appointing a data protection officer, I put $10,000 fine. that is something which is not directly related to it.
I think what you are asking is not been reported like that. After the analysis, they associate a particular
Why
reason.
I'm asking this is, in
Yes,
India,
sir.
if we take up this concurrent audit and annual mandatory data audit, we
Yeah.
are going to have a better system of generating non-compliances without the need for actual breach to happen and get reported in the newspapers.
Absolutely. I understand. I got
No,
it.
in a HEPA case also, sir, any data breach happens and that data belongs to health records only, that fines will come into picture.
Yes,
All
yes.
data breaches in America not comes under HIPAA.
Now you take these major things which are there. Amazon,
Right.
there was no actual data breach. Am I correct?
Yeah.
No, sir. No.
No, I think it was because the system they were following, taking privacy, this thing and other things were not in accordance with this thing. Google also was like that. The privacy policy was not.
Sir, Navi sir, sorry to interrupt. Please help me, is my understanding right? Take this Google LLC. It says that this particular fine because of insufficient legal basis for data processing.
Yes.
Now, as you and me know, there are 6 steps with respect to legal processing. What does that mean? These guys did not follow any one of the 6 steps, and hence they got into this trouble. Now, who would have said it? One Ramesh Venkatraman or one Mr. Adupu would have logged in saying that, hey, you are doing the processing without my knowledge, any one of the following. Then it becomes a data breach, and they had done that analysis and then associated that breach with respect to this particular violation, and the fine has been given. That's all my understanding, sir.
How did the breach the case first came to the knowledge of
the
supervisory authority? It should be one column.
Superb, I got it. The source basically, whether the data subject is putting it.
Origin of the complaint.
Sir, but be with me. If we go to each and every case study now, we had seen some of. No, we had done it. That Marriott case, for example, we are present.
Agreed. If it is in English, you will be able to do it. Otherwise,
sure. Okay. No. The enforcement tracker, what I am showing, it is fully in English. This is also questioned by our friend Subraidu, sir. Sir, please have a look at this site.
There are some French these things and all which are properly.
Yes. Understood, sir. Understood.
See, for example, Ramesh sir.
Yes.
The second on WhatsApp Ireland, right?
Yes.
The type of insufficient fulfillment of information obligations. Right?
Absolutely.
But that could also be a breach, right? Even if a breach, they find out and investigate when a breach has happened. They find out they don't have sufficient controls.
Yeah.
This could be a breach.
Correct.
Yeah, but legal base for data processing, that doesn't look like the root cause of it is a breach or something.
I'm actually trying to drive at. No, I'm actually trying to drive at whether there is a need to define data breach itself, category 1, category 2, something of that, the contravention of the compliance requirement. Not all of them should be called a breach. Breach should be something which is more serious. Some thought which has come to my mind.
Navi sir, I think this is not a sufficient statement in describing a type of violation, because insufficient legal basis for data processing, there are certain things which are emerging from linkage to AI bias and fairness.
Okay.
My question is AI bias and fairness being brought in picture over here? We don't have the information, and just this statement is not sufficient.
So Anirban sir, sorry to interrupt. I am trying to tell you what we are looking at, only the top level view here. I am trying to say that we had gone through. Okay, if you go a little bit in deeper as a case study for each and every violation what they had given, believe me, you have big thing. Who found that? What has happened? How did they go about?
I'm Madhav Chablani, not Anirban, sir.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm Madhav Chablani.
Sorry, Mr. Madhav. I'm trying. Sorry, I did not see the name. Okay, are you with me? So this is only a summary view for you and me. So if you wanted to really go in detail, what is this insufficient fulfillment?
Actually, that is what is my. I think I don't agree, or I don't want to agree with the assertion, because this is not a sufficient detail. If you go into the reports, it explains in detail.
Yeah.
Now you have to pick up one or two cases where it is explaining in detail what is the basis in which there is a violation. And it is a voluminous. Each of the violations is a very voluminous.
That is fine. I am only trying to say whether the law itself should classify the data breach. For example, there is a ransomware attack, in which data is encrypted, but it does not go out of the organization. That is one case. In another case, the unencrypted data has reached the let us say the deep web or dark web. Now, where is the distinction between these two in law? We call both of them as data breach, because security failure, a failure of encryption, failure of access is also a data breach, and actually the release or exfiltration of data is also a data breach. Now, in terms of applying the fine, maybe the supervisory authority can take care of these things at the individual case-to-case level. I am saying whether the law itself should consider that non-compliance not amounting to the compromise of the personal data as level 1 contravention, and the other this thing where the data is actually gone out, that should be considered as.
Sir, then you are looking at like HIPAA. HIPAA, we are talking about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, the same way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. You're right. You're right. Sir, does this make sense? You are able to see my screen. This is what I am trying to say. Let's say Google, this is the fine. And you go through this, it clear.
No, I fully understand that. When we go
no, not you, that another gentleman who had asked. Madhav, sir. It says here.
Actually, these articles are okay, but
not articles. Last one, Google, why it's a breach? Why it is a violation? This is the biggest fine to this date issued for the violation of so-and-so. And finally, the fine was therefore issued on the account of so-and-so on how the data were harvested from the data subject and used for targeting. So they were able to really look at the root cause and then finding out associating to the particular problem. Now, this problem is coming across so many articles is they are giving the details to you and me. I feel whatever I had gone through some of the biggest case studies, it has got at least a detailed way why, when, how, by whom, what action they have taken, etc. What is missing in their system. So if you look at here, the personal information included, they had gone to this level, included the surname or company name, tax code or VAT number, telephone line, address, contact details, etc. has been thrown out, what you call violation. And that violation coming under so-and-so group is what they are trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Ramesh.
Okay. Yes, sir.
See, now the question is,
yes, sir.
The authorities impose a fine in the France, Germany, Italy, everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Whether Google has paid it.
That is
what I want to know.
Yes, yes, sir.
Best of my knowledge, none of these big fines have gone through a process. It is still under litigation.
I will. Adupu sir, I will take up this question. I will also check internally within my organization.
I think they have gone and paid it, but they earn more than that.
Yes, yes.
I think one of the things that's what the ICO is currently looking at in the next new year 2025 plan in the next 3 years, how to recover the money. If you remember,
correct.
Yes.
If there is default,
major thing, how they are going to collect the money.
If there is a case, we have one more opportunity for a new profession.
Yeah.
Recovery
now in the
professional.
banking, recovery one profession.
No, it is required because otherwise people will not pay. Even if there is a decree, people will not pay. No, so you will have to have an enforcement of the decree. That process should be there.
Sir, legal process decree when issued by court, there is nobody going to question. But here, without questioning, the affected party definitely question it, they counter it. They also engage lawyers.
So Durai here, I have one question on the fine. So are the fine or the percentage 2% and 4%, or will it be less than that, sir?
Oh, it is less. Most of the cases it is less.
It is, sir, Navi sir, one more answer here for Durai. In some cases, it is higher also. I remember one of the country, you remember, sir, we discussed that case study.
Luxembourg.
Luxembourg. They said that company CEO came and told, hey guys, I don't have that money. You take over my company even. Durai sir, it had happened. And GDPR also clearly says this is just a kind of recommendation, but in some cases it might even go beyond that, is what my understanding. Am I right, sir, Kamal
No,
sir?
I don't think so. Maximum should be 4%, I suppose. Or Kamal?
Yeah, it
Maximum
says as a
cannot be
guideline.
exceeded.
As a guideline, it says up to maximum of 4% or up to
whichever is higher.
20 million euros or so, whatever.
Yeah, whichever is higher. It can be less than that.
That is not a bottom line figure though, but like
yes.
Mr. Ramesh already said, you know, that is just a guideline. But if the court feels more that they were more aggrieved, then they will impose a more fine accordingly.
Navi sir, I'm really sorry, I don't have that data to show you, but I read somewhere.
No, I think it will not be correct if it is more than 4%. The dispute could be on what is the turnover.
Okay.
There may be a lot of discussions. Okay,
sure,
and the court may sometimes say that your subsidiary XYZ data should be added here, something like that. But beyond that, if they go above 4%, it will be ultra virus regulation.
Yeah. I understand.
So unless the DPA could able to recover the money, this statistics have no meaning for us at that moment of time.
Yes.
And the tracker, I don't simply just putting the from news, compiling the news and putting that's all.
True.
For example, in the USA, the what is that central board committee? They go to court. Everybody going to court. Court decides it that the companies are paying to either the public or the government, whatever the court direction is there. But so far, I don't think in the GDPR European countries, any agency like Google, Facebook, they have paid any money to because of the DPS imposition.
The thing is that the ICO will not always issue a fine. You see, if the organization gets something wrong, there was a big question about it, you know. So what they clearly said that their fines and penalties, they might grab headlines, you know, in the newspapers and news and everything, but they'd like to work with the organization to help them to make changes and improvements to comply in the GDPR law. And the most effective way of reducing mistakes and misuse of people's data. And that's how they're trying to probably compromise in a different way. So not everybody is, like you said, fine, you know, maybe they might say, okay, the bigger organizations that grab headlines, I think that alerts other organizations to think about the data provision.
Even Kamal, adding to that, I mean, we are talking about big fines here, but just to adding to that, and correct me if I'm wrong, even there are small fines, Ramesh, Navi sir, are there if you are delaying in notifying the authority. These are small fines like 300 pounds or 500 pounds, stuff like that. I think that this is also there, and this happened quite frequently.
No, it should happen like that because particularly there are certain educational institutions, NGOs. There is no point in just fining them a huge amount and closing down. So you have to actually make them realize that they have made a mistake and try to actually correct the process.
Sorry, sir. I'm talking about if you are delaying in notifying the authority like ICO, if you are notifying after 24 hours, then there will be a late fine will be added as well. You have to pay the late fine as well. I mean,
72 hours. You are right. It is there.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, great. Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other question? Anybody? Yeah, Manju, please go ahead.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Kamal sir, for doing a fantastic research and sharing the details with us, which triggered a very lively brainstorming session, not just a discussion. It was actually a brainstorming session. Thank you everyone for participating in the discussion, and thank you, Kamal sir, once again. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Kamal sir.
Thanks everyone.
Thank
for
you
your time.
everybody.
Great.
I appreciate your
Sure.
comments, and thank you FDPPI once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.